All right. Well, he made his mark back in May and back once again on September 14th, live from Bear Lake is going to be none other than Vince Wright. Vince, it is such a pleasure to talk to you today, man. How you doing?
Good. How about you, Blake?
Doing absolutely wonderful. I really want to kick things off, picking your brain a little bit about this year specifically. Up until 2024, you weren't necessarily the most active fighter in the state. This is going to be your third walk of the calendar year. What's the reason for the uptick over the past couple of months?
I just kind of got out here late. I had two amateur fights like back to back to finish my amateur career when I got out here because COVID had kind of like put everything on hold in California. So when I moved out here, I didn't think I was going to even continue fighting. I just wanted to stay in shape, stay training, and I ended up, kind of visiting a couple local gyms to my area, and then I found Aldo's, and then I've been there ever since. And then Aldo just approached me one day, like, "Hey, do you still want to take a fight?" And I was like, "Yeah, I'll take one. It is what it is." And then I took one, got it out there pretty quick. I think I was a TKO finish in the second. And then like I think like not even a week later, Aldo's like, "Hey, Stillfist wants you to fight for a belt. You interested?" And I was like, "Yeah." I was like, "I'll do it." And then I ended up fighting for that belt in December, won the belt, and I think it was the third round. Want to say rear naked choke. And then from there, it was just like I needed some time to like save up, get my finances right. And then I had some injuries from those two amateur fights in my right hand, so I had to let my hand heal up a little bit. And then this year, the dream was always to go pro, see what I could do for it. And, had my first one, wasn't, happy with the outcome. I took it on the chin and then took my second fight. And then this will be my third one. And hopefully I can get one more before the year's out.
Man, we absolutely love having you active. You're one of the most electrifying strikers in the entire state, and you do so many things well. You started off that answer with something I wanted to pick your brain about. I don't know how many people, obviously your teammates know, but you come from Northern California. How did you get involved up there, and how did you kind of get involved with the specific people that you got to train with?
Well, actually, I started out here. Like, I went to high school and everything out in Cache Valley. Like,
Oh,
I
really?
graduated from Mountain Crest High. Yeah. So grew up out here from when third grade up until I think I was just about to turn 21. And I moved out to California for work. And I was an iron worker from 17 up until I was 24. So I was doing structural steel welding. And then I started at a local gym there in Stockton, California, just a small, like a little dojo karate gym type setup. And they had like, a couple guys, but no real like fighting team, just, a couple guys that would take amateur fights here and there. And then when I moved to Sacramento for work, I walked into URIJAH gym one day before they transferred to the new location. They just had a little like warehouse gym at the time. And I was there for about 2 weeks. And then URIJAH bought his new location. And then I was there for, I want to say like 5, 6 years. So it was
Man,
just like a blessing. And then at the same time, like I wasn't experienced enough in the game, nor was I like mentally ready for that leap and like the skill set of guys I was fighting because it was like mostly pros that I was training with, like left and right. Like some of my best friends that I've made from out there, like guys in one championship, guys that are now in the UFC, or guys that are making their contender series debut this coming weeks. So it's like I got to fight with some of the best. Honestly, I didn't appreciate it when I was there, and I don't even think it was that I didn't appreciate it. I just didn't experience like getting to absorb everything that I should have absorbed in that moment. Like I was just so like, man, I'm losing all these rounds. I'm not getting better. And then now stepping back, looking at it, it's like, yeah, I lost a lot of those rounds in that house, but it's like I was going against some of the best in the world, and it's like I wasn't expected to win. Like I was just starting off. Like I only had two amateur fights when I walked in those doors, so it was just like, man, the experience that I gained there, fighting some of the best, like really helped me out mentally.
do you feel like that jump from, being at legitimately one of the top gyms in the entire world being Uriah's, obviously One Hit MMA is a great gym in itself, but it, hasn't culminated world champions the way that, the Northern California gym has. Do you ever look back and think, man, that was just such a valuable time in my life? And I know you mentioned that you kind of have some regrets about it, but do you ever look back and think, man, I'm just so lucky that I know like what level it takes?
Oh yeah, no, like now that I'm a little bit more mature in the game, more mature mentally, it's like the only regret I can say I have is that I didn't like soak in the knowledge the right way. Like I just took it as, I'm the nail every day. I'm not, being the hammer. And then it's out here, it's like when I first got to all those gym, it's like Cole was, one of the first few guys I started sparring with, him and Ammon. And it's like you see what they can do on the local circuit. So it's like we haven't really produced as a state, I don't think, some of the best in the world. I know Court McGee's been a long time standard in the UFC from Utah. But it's like I feel like Utah MMA is about to start breaking through really soon with this new upcoming wave. Not just the guys we have locally at our gym, but just the guys in the state that are starting to come pro and like start making their marks.
Yeah, no, it's definitely starting to boil over. One thing I wanted to ask you, how much did you get to rub shoulders with Uriah? Was he there every day? Were you always in the room with him, or how was that?
Oh yeah, he's there every day. He runs practices, and then for a while, like I was kind of living out of my car, when I first got there. It wasn't, the best situation. I sacrificed welding to train full time. I gave up my career, to chase a dream. And so Uriah had found out that I was living out of my car, pretty much just parked in front of the gym. And so he let me live in the fighter house, which it was him and a couple other guys owned it. It was pretty close to his actual house and his gym. And so it was like I would stay there, and there was people from England that was staying there, guys from URIJAH, guys from pretty much all over the world would come through and just do camps there. And that's the house we would all stay in. So it was just like a melting pot of culture. But Uriah was always around. He's still always around. He coaches practices. He runs like sparring. Like you'll see him like every day if you're at that gym.
Man, do you still get to keep in contact with Uriah from time to time?
Yeah, I still reach out to Uriah now, especially now he's got A1 combat. Like, that'd be a cool thing for me to go back and fight on because I have some friends that are, been done really well on that show, and they're making their contender series mark, like I said, this summer. So I have one friend, Billy Brand, he'll be fighting next week. And then after him, I think Jack Duffy's like a week or two later. So I mean, now that A1 combat's, it's starting to blow up. It's on UFC Fight Pass. Like I think it'd be a good show to like, especially like branch out and start doing more stuff.
Why did you start training MMA? How far back does that go? Did you have wrestling roots, karate roots, or anything like that as a kid?
Not really as a kid. I wrestled in high school for 2.5 years, but I was never really the athlete, at least in combat sports when I was younger as I am now. Like I didn't really have like the mental fortitude to take like it as far as I've tried to take fighting. But kind of what got me into fighting is like, my older brother is 4 or 5 years older than me, and he was always, just beating me up when I was growing up. And then I started wrestling in high school, like I said. And then one day I just, had enough, and I was able to beat him up, even though he was bigger than me. And then, I never was like a, bully or like the ego kid. Like I was always really quiet and like shy. And so, a lot of people would try to pick on me, but it's like I never really got into too many fights. Like in high school, I got into a few, but I just walked into an MMA gym one day and I was like, this is kind of where I belong. Like this is what sets me alive. This is where I feel like I should do with my life.
What does your brother now think of your fighting career and the amount of highlights you've been able to put together over the years?
I mean, I don't know what he thinks, 100%, but I mean, I have three brothers altogether, one older, two younger. And my two younger brothers are both like 6'2", 6'1", so they're both bigger than me. But out of all the boys in my family, it's like nobody's ever like tried to question me as far as like, hey, we're gonna try to beat you up. It's like, nah, my brothers kind of know. I don't really push it out there, but it's like I'm the top of the totem pole, at least in our male family tree.
Sure, sure. Are they proud of you?
Yeah, no, my brother, the younger brother, me and him are roommates. He goes to all my fights. Like he helps support my career. And, my youngest brother is really proud of me. Like, you know, I'm just trying to do something so I can show them the right path. Show them a different way out. Because where we grew up in California wasn't the best environment. That's what brought my family out here. So it was just like, showing that I could make it from out there to. I mean, I'm not really anywhere yet. I'm just starting off my pro career, but as far as right now, sky's the limit. Like I got big dreams, big goals, and it's like I'm still young and body, I can still push it. I don't have really big injuries. So, I'm gonna chase it as long as I can.
Why come back to Utah? What was the reason for you to leave URIJAH and move?
Just like financial things like started getting really strict out there. Like it was just hard to like make ends meet. And then it was like my family was already out here. Like I moved to California at 20 years old just to chase work. And I was out there just working full time. My grandparents lived out there at the time. And then my grandfather had passed away, so it was like I didn't really have too much family like to be around. And so I was like, all right, well, I'll just come back to Utah. Honestly, once I left here, I never planned on coming back. But when I came back, I was like, yeah, I kind of missed it, like the mountains, the peacefulness. Like it was just a part of me, like because I grew up out here. I spent almost half my life here in California. Like part of me is out here. Like this is kind of a mix of home.
When it came to One Hit, did you know about One Hit prior, or how did you find Aldo and all those guys?
I did not. I knew of Team Link because I had trained there when I was 17 for a few weeks. I did jits there a little bit. And then that's when I went to the welding industry because I was already certified out of high school. So I didn't know anything about One Hit, and I didn't really know anything about the local circuit as far as like, fights that were happening, anything like that. Like I said, I just moved out here and I kind of, just wanted to stay in shape, stay active, stay, around the sport pretty much. And then I walked into Aldo's gym one day and, he asked if I had ever trained. And I told him, yeah, I trained here. I've done a little bit of this. And then like, I think it was like 6, maybe 7 months later, he just approached me at practice one day. He's like, hey, do you want to take a fight? And I was like, okay, like, let's see what happens. And then, kind of the rest has been history.
When I think of One Hit, I immediately think of Amin Garcia, Cole Faust. Those are two of the big names that everyone knows, right? What has it been like being able to share the room? You're not in the exact same weight classes. You're a little bit smaller, but overall, you're probably spending some time getting some rounds in with those guys, given the body types. What is it like being able to train with them and all of you to learn from each other?
Oh, it's been a blessing, man. Like, they're like you said, we're not in the same weight class by all. Like I don't walk around as heavy as those guys do, nowhere near it. But it's like those are my main two training partners. Like when it comes to sparring rounds, like yesterday was sparring. Like those are my two predominant partners. Like I don't get too much rounds with anyone else. Like whether it's wrestling, jiu-jitsu, or striking, it's like all they'll just make sure it's like us three are kind of dog fighting pretty much, like going to war with each other. But it's always like good rounds, good learning. And then it's like after practice, we always try to pick each other's brain. Like if I get caught with something, Amin will let me know, like, hey, this is what I was hitting you with, and vice versa. Like we just always kind of like, we don't tell each other in the moment, obviously, but it's like after practice when we're friends again, it's like, hey, this is why I was kind of beating you up today. You were doing this. And it's like, all right, cool. Thank you.
We're kind of co-promoting both of these shows because they're so close together. Ammon Garcia is going to be headlining on September 7th. How do you feel like that jump up to pro? Obviously, such a dominant amateur fighter. How do you feel that jump up to pro is going to go for Ammon?
Oh, I don't think it'll be any different than his amateur career. I think he's going to step out there and do what he does. Like his mindset's just perfect for this sport. Like he doesn't cut any corners. He doesn't take things lightly. He's doing his thing. Like he knows what he's got to do to be ready. And he's got that mentality. Like this is what he's going to be. Like him and Cole, I have no doubt will be on the big show within the next like year, maybe two max. Like they just have that, tenacity and that natural ability to them.
I talk to Zach Partridge all the time for work. We are constantly in communication with one another. He talks the same way about those two guys. And by no means have they not passed the eye test in my mind. I'm just curious because everybody at that gym speaks so highly of them, and rightfully so. Their records speak for themselves, their performances speak for themselves. But what is it about them that separates them from the pack?
It's just the work. Like I said, some guys will go to practice, once a day, twice a day, and then they'll call it good. They don't do anything outside the actual MMA gym. But it's like, I don't know their exact schedules, but it's like, I know for a fact, like Ammon's at least doing 3 to 4 sessions a day. He researches what he's got to do as far as lifting, conditioning goes. Like he's not cutting any corners. Not Cole's the same way. Like Cole's very stoic, very quiet. He don't say much unless he has to. But it's like, I know he's a student of the game. Like he'll study what he has to study, and he's just making silent improvements. Like nobody knew in the gym that he was fighting in September until like the last few weeks, I want to say. But it's like he's been around, he's been training, he runs practice on Monday nights, he'll teach class. And it's like once we all found out that I didn't know he was in camp. But once I found out he was in camp, I was like, bro, we're all fighting back to back. It goes Ammon, me, then you. It's like, man, we're all in camp. Let's go.
I can't wait for all three of you. I mean, I think the world of all three of you. Back to you. How fun was that fight in May? Because I think for a lot of people, you had been on the scene, but nobody had really seen, the emphatic finish. And then you got to have that moment in May. So how was that for you? How fun was that specific fight?
Honestly, it was just like the camp itself. Like I said, I was coming off a loss. Like I went into my pro debut like sick as a dog. Like I technically did pull out of the fight. Like I told promotion, like, hey, like I'm underweight already. Like I was sick for almost a week and a half before the fight. Wasn't able to really train. But it's like mentally, I knew like I needed to make the debut. If not, I was just gonna put it on the shelf. And then I just didn't want to have excuses going into the start of the year because right after I had taken that fight, my birthday was 2, 3 weeks later. So I was like, man, if I get this out the way, whatever happens, I could at least say I made that jump. So I took the fight, didn't put on my best performance, still went out there and did, what I thought was okay, but still left some money on the table in my mind. And then I walked into that second fight at the Maverick Center and I was just like the most stoic, the most peaceful I think I've ever been in my fight career. Like just even sitting in the back, like to me, that was just like the most meditative I think I've ever been. Like I was calm, collected, just being in that environment, that big of a venue, being able to feel what it's like, you are a big time pro fighting in those type of arenas. It was just to me like, okay, I can do this at this point. Like that's what it was like, eye opener to me. It's like I'm here. Granted, like I said, it's not like, UFC yet, but just being in that venue, like UFC does fight there. So to me, it was like, man, I can do this. I could chase this. And then actually, I knew that guy was going to come out with some crazy karate stuff. I had planned to catch a kick. I didn't think it was going to happen that fast, but I caught the kick. The game plan I had worked, accordingly. I wanted to hit him with some clean strikes in the clinch, and then my right hand speaks for itself.
Jason kind of asked you about it right after the fight, but now that it's been a few months and you've had some time to reflect, how wild was that opening axe kick? Because I don't think anyone, including us in the commentary booth, were expecting it to start that quickly.
Honestly, like I seen it for a split second, but it was like he had a really good game plan. He created a distance he needed with the push kick and then came down. And I thought I had my hands high enough and pulled far enough away to get away from it. But I didn't realize how flexible he was to get his leg up that high. And so it like cracked me right in the eye socket. And then I was just like, I'm not gonna lie, like I wasn't dazed or anything, but it was a quick little like eye opener, like, okay, now you're in the fight. And then from then it was just like, all right, now it's my turn. And then like my game plan just worked a little bit better than his. My experience in the cage was, more prevalent. And I was just able to stick to my plan, and the chaos, you just follow through with what you taught.
Less of a serious question, but have you thought about, man, what if he did crack me? What if he did catch me right there and that second fight doesn't go according to plan?
Hey, if that second one didn't go to plan, I would have probably been more hungry for this one. Like, not that I'm not hungry and I'm not taking this
Sure.
fight serious, but there would have been a little bit more anger coming out of that fight, especially because, man, that would have happened so fast. Like, first 10 seconds, if it would have happened, like, I'm not gonna say it didn't hurt, but I got a good chin. I'm got good genetics, good roots. Like, I've been hit a couple times, so I can take a little bit. But that one was like a really good kick and really flashy too. So I was like, hey, kudos to that kid. Like, he came prepared.
Why do you think you were so calm in the back for that specific fight? You talked about the big stage, but what do you think it was about that specific night that just the stars kind of aligned for you?
Honestly, I think I'm just hitting my stride. My biggest thing is, like I said, when I was at URIJAH, I didn't think I really fully believed in my skill set and my capabilities. Like, I saw improvements in my game from day one to when I left. But being around that many high level guys, being the nail, like I said, I don't ever think I really took it in the moment and actually like, man, you're actually making giant leaps, even though like I just didn't see it at that level. And then since I've been out here and I've gotten to, like grow older, I've been in the game a little bit longer. Looking back, it's like I'm, just more thankful for the experience. Like if I could, shake your guys' hand right now, I would. But it's like I owe that guy like a lot. Like just being in that gym, him, Danny Castillo, Joey Rodriguez, like the coaches I had back home, like, they poured into my cup. And, at the time I was just always getting my, ass kicked for lack of better words. So I didn't really have a chance to like, hey, you're getting better. Keep believing in yourself, kid. And then that day at the Maverick Center, it was just like, man, you got to this far. Like, just enjoy the moment. Like, that's all it is. Just enjoy it, living it. And then being in that venue, getting to, walk out in that little tunnel, you hear everyone walking out above you. I was just trying to soak it all in. Remember what the walls look like. Remember the little pictures they had up posted up on the walls. Just fully embrace it. So that way, if I never get to fight there again, I could be like, man, I remember every detail of what that tunnel looked like, what the walkout felt like. By the time I hit the cage and I actually walked out, I was just like, okay, it's time to fight. Like, there's nothing to it. Let's do this.
Has did Uriah or any of your guys back at home in California get the chance to watch your fight?
I don't know if you're right did per se, but I know some of my old teammates back home, some of my close friends, like they reached out and, they gave me a pat on the back and they're like, man, you kind of killed that guy. And I was like, technically it's the ref's fault. Herb Dean didn't come in until, but it happened so fast and he just didn't see it coming. And I was like, in the moment, I knew the guy was out when I hit him with the first right, but I knew the ref was off to my left. I just didn't know how far to my left. And so I expected him to come and push me before I hit him on the ground. And then once I hit him that first time, the ref still wasn't there. So I was like, oh, I just got to keep going. Then ref's not here. And then sure enough, like he jumped in. I think I was on the second punch. And I
Yeah.
was like, okay, yeah. So it was just a crazy experience altogether.
Have you watched the fight back? And if so, how many times do you think you've watched it back?
I watched it back a few times, especially that first night, just because like it happened so fast. Like in the moment, I felt it all happen. I felt him wind up for a big hook when we were in the clinch. I rolled his hook and hit him with my short hook instead. And then like just being in that moment, like I said, I knew he was out when I caught him with that short hook, but the ref didn't jump in time, and I didn't know what was gonna if he was gonna get back up or not. So I just followed through. But yeah, I mean, the only thing I could take away from that is like more wariness. So like guys that can kick that high, it's like make sure you got a little bit better distance.
One of the last questions from me. What is it specifically about MMA that you love so much? Obviously, you've dedicated so much to this sport, and for so many, it just tugs at the heartstrings. What is it for you that you love about it?
Honestly, I just love the ability to test myself more than anything. Like just being able to like, all right, well, everyone thinks like they're, a tough guy. Everyone thinks, this, that, whatever. To me, it's not so much about that. It's just I want to see what, we only given a certain amount of time on this world as it is. So this body's not permanent, nothing in this life's permanent. I just want to see what I can do with this body before, my time's up and before I have to retire from the sport. Cause I don't want to, be forced out of the game because I am a little bit older, I'm 31 now. I want to, retire with, youth still in my body. So I'm just going to push it as much as I can and see what this game has involved for me because, nothing's promised. That's what makes it so beautiful to me is like, you can chase it, go on a 9-fight win streak, be in the UFC, make hundreds of thousands of dollars, or you can go on a 9-fight losing streak and, it's the pits. But to me, it's just like a beautiful chaos. Like I like boxing growing up. I started boxing at a young age, at least with my cousins and my family. but it's like my style was always like more wrestling, more like kind of ugly based compared to boxing. Now that I'm older, I could box a little better. I have better footwork. But to me, MMA is just it's beautiful chaos, as I call it. Like boxing is a sweet science. MMA is just chaos, like orchestrated chaos. Like you know the rules, you know what's possible, what's not possible, what you're allowed to do, what you're not allowed to do. So you just go out there and you have fun. At the end of the day, now that I'm a pro, I get to make some money.
High stakes and certainly a game of inches, no doubt about it. Last question from me. Number one thing you're looking forward to facing opposite David Maggio, a guy who's been around for a very long time.
Just a good test. I mean, I watched a couple of his fights. His three pro fights. The guy's a good grappler. He's really athletic. He likes to go to the ground. I haven't really got to see any of his striking games, so maybe he comes with more striking in this fight. Who knows? But honestly, like I said, I just want to test myself. So hopefully he comes with his A game, comes prepared, and we can put on a good show because we're the co-main event. Hopefully we can get that place rocking. Put on a good little highlight reel finish. Whoever wants to. Let's just stand and bang. Let's have fun.
One of the hottest highlights of the entire year thus far, Vince Wright making the walk on September 7th live from Bear Lake. Vince, just last quick thing. Is there any sponsors or anyone you want to give a thank you to?
Just like to give a thank you to all my teammates, Cole, Ammon, Aldo, Regio, Joe Rodriguez, all the guys that help us, help us get better, help promote us, help put us on the, stages. If it wasn't for them, I don't think I would have got here because, like I said, I didn't think I was going to be fighting anyone when I got here. Aldo gave me an opportunity and I just kind of ran with it. So if it wasn't for Cole and Ammon helping me get ready, Hunter, all these guys that I've been training with, it's game. And everyone back home in California, if you guys get to see this, thank you for all the beatings you guys gave me when I was starting out. Appreciate you.